Over the years, there's been one reoccurring Transformers character that fans seem to adore, but Hasbro doesn't. And that is Cliffjumper. I'm not one of the people who say he's died in every new Transformers media that's come out, but if I'm gonna be honest, his last few decade or so of appearances have been very underwhelming. Besides the death stigma, there's also the stigma that old Cliffy is just always a repaint of Bumblebee. Sadly, that's been the case just as recently as the Gamer Edition one. But today, my friends, we are taking a look at two Cliffjumpers that broke the mold of Bumblebee. We have the Transformers GDO Cliffjumper and the Transformers Earthrise Cliffjumper. So first up, I want to talk about the GDO Cliffjumper. This guy has gained almost a cult following in the Transformers community. And I'm pretty sure that popularity stems from him being the Cliffjumper used in Crosshair's Productions' Ascensionverse stop-motions. And at first glance, this guy actually looks like a custom, with the G1 Cliffjumper head and the Transformers Prime 1st Edition Cliffjumper body. But surprisingly, he's an official figure. On the rare occasion you'll find this guy on eBay, he can run you cheaper than the actual 1st Edition Cliffjumper. But that's enough exposition. The head sculpt on this figure is awesome. If I had one nitpick, it'd probably just be that it's a little slim. Other than that though, the sculpt here is amazing and the face is perfectly Cliffjumper. The light piping is so bright. His body is kind of awkwardly proportioned with his long arms and short legs, but honestly, that's just part of the appeal for me. Now this guy isn't a gold mine of detail, in fact most of him is pretty smooth, but the parts on him that do actually have circuit or vent detail look amazing. If I had to complain about him, there's two things that slightly annoy me, and one thing that actually scares me. The thing is, if you look at the top of the shoulders, you can see some stress marks where the ball joint goes into the socket. I'll say one thing, it wasn't like that when I got him 2 years ago. I mean, the joints aren't stiff, and they haven't cracked, so I'm pretty sure I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill. As for one of the smaller complaints, the chest really likes to de-transform itself, and these headlights right here like to come out really easily. And the other small complaint is due to his transformation, the leg does bow out a little when you move it. It's not really that significant for me to be mad about, but it is something that I have to keep in mind when I take photos of him. Now, as we all know, Cliffjumper should have some guns. This guy's special in the fact that he has built-in cannons in his hands. All you have to do is rotate the palm facing up, open up the little wheel well here, and flip it in, and that automatically flips out his triple-barreled blasters. In any pose, you can make this guy look amazing, especially with his articulation. You get some double-jointed elbows, nicely nimble legs, and a ball joint at the head. And if you de-transform him just a little bit, you can give him some waist swivel. All of those well-integrated articulation points make him look and feel very dynamic. Now, if you don't want the more stylized and angular look of the GDO Cliffjumper, well, here is the Transformers Earthrise Cliffjumper. And sadly, like other Earthrise figures, he's gone up quite a bit in price. But don't get me wrong, it's not like people when this thing first came out were happy about the price. He was sold as a deluxe class figure, which is fine in my eyes, but to a lot of butthurt Transformers fans, his stature just didn't match the price point at the time. That's like the whole fun of Cliffjumper. He is a mini-bot. He's still jam-packed full of a lot of great detail, so I see why they made him a deluxe. But enough semantics, let's just get into the figure himself. That head sculpt is unmistakably Cliffjumper. With the nice rounded helmet and the pointy horns, his face sculpt is perfectly soft and smooth with a nice metallic silver all over it. And the blue for the eyes really make them pop. Unlike the GDO Cliffjumper, this Cliffjumper's horns aren't painted, but I actually like it that way. I feel like it fits the aesthetic of this figure and of G1 Cliffjumper in general a lot better. And he might be small, but he's still jam-packed full of amazing sculpting. My favorite of which being on the forearms. It has great circuit and panel detail, but there's something else I really enjoy, and it's pretty subtle. The kind of cylinder look in the middle of each forearm really adds a lot to this figure, and I can't explain why I like it so much. but with the legs it does kind of get lost because it is just black plastic. And of course you have his big feet, which in some poses they do kind of get in the way, but it's fine, you can finagle it to look amazing. One thing I wanted to point out in detail is that he doesn't have an Autobot insignia on his chest, but I think with this figure it helps him by not having it right in the middle. If you really wanted him to have an Autobot insignia on his stomach, just go buy some repro labels, or there are thousands of sticker sheets on eBay. But of course, anybody who knows this figure knows what's about to come next. It's the fact that he's a parts former! Seriously, people act like this small little backpack is the end of the world. Oh no, one part of him doesn't transform completely together. Like, holy shit, just get laid already. At the end of the day, it services both robot and vehicle mode, and it makes them look a lot better. I seriously don't get why people are so up in arms about this still. Just keep it on his back or have him hold it as a shield. But all the joints on this guy are very nice and elegant, and you can get him into some very nice poses. And his accessories are very, very fun. He comes with a weird paddle thing that has some nice detail and paint apps. 2 hand cannons, one with a peg at the back, and one that I like to put these little black pieces on. Of course, he can hold them all separately, but you can also combine them, and he can have the G1 Episode 1 accurate bazooka, which you could just put it in his hand and he can heft mightily above his shoulder. And holy crap, does he look kinda menacing with this thing. And it's seriously just as big as he is. And in my opinion, it is truly badass. So, both of these guys have amazing robot modes, but what about vehicle mode?
So while I was fucking recording his transformation, he just decided to break right there. I didn't apply any unneeded fucking pressure or anything. He just decided to snap this piece right off, and the fucking things that hold it in just broke and disintegrated like fucking Spider-Man in Avengers Infinity War. So I'm going to go about the review, try and stay calm. If you can tell, I'm very mad. So sure.
So after some moments of unbridled rage, here is the Transformers GDO Cliffjumper in his vehicle mode. If anybody knows how to fix the hinge literally disintegrating in my hands, I'd like to know. Thank you very much. But it is pretty obviously just Transformers Prime Cliffjumper. I mean, obviously, because the only cosmetic change to the figure was the head sculpt, so who didn't see this coming? But still, I love the slick, slim build of this vehicle. I mean, it looks like it's fueled with testosterone and red, white, and blue energy. I mean, it even has the cow horns as the hood ornament. And of course, the double exhaust on each side, which is weird because it also has exhaust here. His wheels are also very nice. They have a nice silver for the rims, and I like the tread sculpts, and to add to all that, they roll perfectly fine. I really love the translucent blue for all the windows and the headlights, and that grille piece is very angled and it looks kinda mad. I love how deep it is because it gives the shadows a very nice opportunity to fake a black wash, and even has a little Autobot symbol on him. We move on from an all-American muscle machine to a sweet small little bean of a car. I mean, seriously, this might be one of my favorite car modes of all time in my collection. It still looks like a muscle car, but it's just so small and cute. Again, I love the translucent blue for the windows and windshield. The Autobot insignia appears in vehicle mode. I love the tiny little spoiler. And a vent thing, I guess? Whatever it is, it makes the hood look very asymmetrical, and I love asymmetry. Everything has a place to go, and it fits in itself very nicely. Of course, it's a Transformer, you're going to have seams, but the seams aren't as egregious as some other Transformers figures. But of course, just a regular car is lame and boring, which is where the weapons come in. Of course, you could be lame and just peg it on the port, but you can also do something absolutely amazing and very awesome in my opinion. Continuing the Ultra G1 accuracy, this guy's weapons can break down and form the jet ski mode that he had in the episode where Sea Spray goes to Atlantis and falls in love with a fish girl, and I'm not sure if this is from that episode, but it's from a certain water episode. It's just a cool addition, and if I kept figures in vehicle mode, this is definitely the way I'd keep Cliffjumper. Other than that, there's really nothing much else to go over with these vehicle modes. So, in the end, I love both of these figures, even if one of them broke right as I was filming. But if I have to be honest, I do prefer the Earthrise version. I mean, GDO is pretty damn great. I've wanted this figure for a long time before I was able to actually pick him up, and I'm glad I have him in my hands. From the light piping, to the articulation, to the sculpting, those all ensure that he has a solid foundation in my secondary Autobot display in my collection. But as for Earthrise, not only did he not break on me while filming, but he's just damn near perfect as a Cliffjumper. He fits the character perfectly, small but mighty. To add on to that, he scales amazingly with the other Earthrise and G1 figures, his painting and sculpting is amazing, his accessories are fun, and the vehicle mode is just awesome. And that's why he's been my main display Cliffjumper ever since 2020. Honestly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So what should your takeaway be? Be careful with your GDO Cliffjumper, and parts forming isn't a problem.
I gotta leave, okay?
John, we just started. Come on, man.
Listen, there's a lot to see in this life. Not wasting it here.